The latest NASCAR race in Atlanta ended in controversy once again. Christopher Bell led only one lap during the race, but it was the most important one. He won the event, but the way he did it has sparked a debate among fans and drivers. NASCAR races often bring people surprises, but this finish left many people frustrated. Bell was driving his number 20 Toyota and managed to secure victory in a dramatic way. The race had been dominated by Chevrolets for most of the day, and Bell seemed like an unlikely winner, but when the final laps arrived, the competition turned chaotic. Austin Cindric was leading with less than 10 laps to go when Kyle Larson made contact with him, sending him into the wall. That crash also involved William Byron, leading to a caution flag. With just 2 laps left, the race was set for an intense finish. Bell was in a strong position, pushing Larson forward, while Carson Hocevar was behind Ross Chastain. As the race restarted, Hocevar decided not to push Chastain and instead moved up the middle. This created an opening for Bell, who pulled alongside Larson. The white flag waved, signaling the final lap. Hocevar attempted another move, setting up the possibility of a thrilling 3-wide finish, similar to last year's Atlanta race. But just as the leaders approached the last set of turns, a crash further back led to a caution. NASCAR officials immediately called the race over, and Bell was declared the winner. This decision left fans disappointed. Many had been hoping for a photo finish, especially after the chaotic Daytona 500 just weeks earlier. NASCAR has been inconsistent with how they handle late race cautions. At Daytona, they allowed the race to continue despite a crash involving the leaders, letting them race to the finish. But just a day before this Atlanta race, in the Xfinity Series event, NASCAR had received criticism for letting cars drive through an accident site. Because of that, officials decided to be more cautious this time in ending the race as soon as the yellow flag came out. Bell was far ahead of Hocevar and Larson when the caution came, so he was declared the winner. He celebrated the victory, calling it a dream moment. However, not everyone was happy. Many drivers felt the race could have ended differently if there had been a chance to finish under green flag conditions. Some also pointed fingers at Hocevar for his aggressive driving. After the race, Hocevar found himself in the middle of controversy because several drivers, including Ross Chastain and Ryan Blaney, confronted him on pit road. They accused him of making risky moves that disrupted the final laps. Hocevar admitted that he needed to clean up his driving, but he did not reveal what was said in those private conversations. He did, however, apologize to Kyle Larson and the Hendrick Motorsports team. He explained that he did not realize they were not racing back to the finish line and said he had tried to push Bell but made a mistake. Hocevar had been trying to win his first NASCAR Cup Series race. He had a chance to make a big move heading into Turn 3, but the caution flag ruined his opportunity. He later said he learned a lot from the race and that he still needed to improve his driving in certain situations. He also praised his team, Spire Motorsports, for putting him in a competitive position. The ending of the race left a lot of questions. NASCAR's handling of late race cautions has been inconsistent. At Daytona, they allowed the field to race back to the finish, but in Atlanta, they ended the race immediately. Some fans believe the race should have continued under green. Others think NASCAR made the right call for safety reasons, but Bell's victory was his 11th in the Cup Series. He admitted that super speedway racing had been a challenge for him in the past, but he was thrilled with the way his team performed. He credited his crew for keeping the car in top shape and making adjustments that allowed him to stay in the fight, and he also said that the final restart put him in a perfect position to win. Despite the controversy, Bell's win was a big moment for him and his team. But for fans, the ending was another frustrating example of how unpredictable NASCAR can be. The sport has seen many races end under caution, and it always leads to debates. Some believe that the final laps should always be finished under green, while others understand the need for safety. The battle between manufacturers was another talking point. Chevrolet had been dominant throughout the race, with several of their drivers running up front. Toyota, however, managed to pull off the victory with Bell. Ford had a rough day, with many of their cars struggling to stay competitive. The mix of different strategies and the unpredictability of super speedway racing made the event exciting, but the way it ended overshadowed the action. One of the biggest surprises was Josh Berry's involvement in the late race crash. As he swerved across the track, the caution flag was waved. This decision changed everything, as it ended any chance of a side-by-side battle to the finish line. Bell was leading at that moment, so he was awarded the victory. However, Carson Hocevar has built a reputation as an aggressive driver early in his NASCAR Cup Series career. His performance in the Embedder Health 400 at Atlanta Motor Speedway proved that again. He finished second, which was a great result, but his aggressive moves on the track left several veteran drivers frustrated. This race added more fuel to the ongoing debate about Hocevar's driving style. While some see him as a rising star, others believe he is a reckless driver and still has a lot to learn. Ryan Blaney was one of the drivers most upset with Hocevar. During the race, Blaney got spun out by Hocevar on lap 203 while running near the front. Despite keeping his car under control without major damage, Blaney was furious on the radio. Fox captured his conversation with his spotter, Tim Fidewa, where he called Hocevar a weapon and complained about his poor decision-making on the track. Blaney said that Hocevar had no idea how to properly bump someone and that his moves made no sense. Kyle Busch was also angry with Hocevar. During Stage 1, Busch repeatedly expressed frustration over the radio, calling Hocevar a douchebag and saying he had made the same bad move multiple times. At one point, Busch even said he didn't care if he wrecked the entire field, he was tired of Hocevar's driving. This level of anger from an experienced driver like Busch shows just how much frustration Hocevar is causing among the veterans in the sport. Ross Chastain also had issues with Hocevar after the race. Chastain was not happy with the way Hocevar handled things on the track and did not receive the response he wanted when he confronted him. While Chastain did not reveal what was said between them, his dissatisfaction was clear. This means that three of the sport's biggest names, Blaney, Busch, and Chastain, were all upset with Hocevar at different points in the race. Despite the criticism, Hocevar did not back down. After the race, when asked about his aggressive driving, he defended himself. He made it clear that he is not here to make friends. He said NASCAR is not about playing on a playground and being nice to each other, he is here to win races. But he did admit that there are things he could improve on and that he does not want to make too many enemies. He acknowledged that he still has a lot to learn and that racing at the front was a new experience for him. Hocevar's second place finish in Atlanta was impressive, but the way he achieved it is what has people talking. His aggressive style has been a topic of discussion all season, and this race only added more controversy. Some fans appreciate his determination and willingness to push the limits, while others believe he is reckless and needs to show more respect to his competitors. NASCAR has seen many aggressive drivers over the years, and some of them have become legends of the sport, while others have struggled because they made too many enemies. Hocevar is at a critical point in his career. He has shown he has the talent to compete at a high level, but if he continues to upset veterans like Busch and Blaney, he might find himself in trouble. The Embedder Health 400 was another example of how unpredictable NASCAR can be. Hocevar's aggressive moves helped him finish second, but they also made him one of the most talked about drivers after the race. Whether he will adjust his driving style or continue on the same path remains to be seen, but one thing is certain, he's not going unnoticed. NASCAR's decision-making will continue to be a topic of debate. They've been criticized for being inconsistent, and this race added to the discussion. Some drivers like Larson and Chastain were visibly frustrated after the race, and others like Hocevar acknowledged that they still had things to learn. This race also showed how aggressive drivers can be in the closing laps. With so much on the line, they take risks that can either win them the race or lead to disaster. Hocevar's moves were risky, and while he did not crash himself, he played a role in how the race ended. Chastain and Blaney were not happy with him, and it will be interesting to see if this situation carries over to future races. So no matter how well a driver performs throughout the race, everything can change in the final moments. So that's all we have for today's episode. Don't forget to comment down your thoughts on this. Also, while you're down there, make sure to hit that subscribe button as well.